Hello, friends and neighbors. That was Ruby by Color Green here on Canna-Talk 95.9, RadioFreeFargo.org. Streaming everywhere in the world that you're at. You can check us out. The best independent radio station in the world as far as I'm concerned. And who's I'm? It's Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. 4 o'clock I get in here. 4:20 open a big fat bag of cannabis news. That's right. Canna in Canna-Talk is cannabis. We're going to talk about cannabis legalization, the benefits of cannabis. Since I hail from Fargo in North Dakota, we're going to talk about North Dakota legalization news. We have New Approach North Dakota, which has successfully got a recreational cannabis legalization measure on the ballot to be voted on by the people in November. And the people is, I always wonder, like, whenever this is going to happen, the powers that be or the people who, are going to try to keep it from happening without saying they don't want it happening, sneaky people will come up with stuff. And you're like, well, I wonder what they're going to come up with this time, without blatantly saying, we don't believe in cannabis, we don't want it because we'd rather see revenue from everything else, our kickbacks, pharmaceuticals, booze, tobacco. You know what I'm saying? Well, they've done it. And so we're going to talk about it at 4:20. What is the state of North Dakota doing to prevent votes in November for cannabis legalization? New Approach North Dakota. We're going to talk about it at 4:20, so stick around and we're going to do the thing. This show, though, is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Right before me was Side Stage with Trav, 1 to 3. Usually after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. That's not going to be the case today. There's a household of sickness, so Stinky ain't going to be in today, which I could tell you because it smells a whole lot cleaner in here. And then we have Black Ring Ritual to wrap up our Thursday. This show is brought to you, like I said, by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook, blackcottagealchemy.com. Body butter. That's what I push. You can get some at Tochi Products. Just tell Joe Wilson sent you. You don't even have to say any of that. Just go on in there. Colloidal silver. There's candles that are humane candles to be purchased. This is made with kosher full spectrum CBD, 1,600 mgs to be exact. Mango butter, shea butter, bunch of butters, beeswax, coconut oil, colloidal silver, turmeric, arnica, sage, and rosemary. This stuff works for neuropathy, pain, inflammation, eczema, just to mention a few things. Again, I use this stuff daily. It's great stuff. Pick yourself up some. And again, thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. I believe cannabis was created by our Creator, God Himself, who I worship daily, but specifically on Sundays, 11 a.m., Antioch Church, 417 Main Avenue. Join me if you'd like. Anyway, strap on your resin-soaked seatbelt. We're going to push through this. Again, I wanted you to know about the Inforum promo. Best of the Red River Valley 2022 contest, which means we've been nominated for Best Radio Station in the Inform newspaper. So we'd like to be the winner. I'd love to be the winner. Also, you can vote for this side of country with Travis. He does, I think it's weekdays, 8 to 10, 10 to noon. You'll have to check that out, find out. But please vote for 95.9 Radio Free Fargo, KRFF, for Best Radio Station. Voting begins September 19th. Go to www.inform.com/community/contest auctions /best of the Red River Valley 2022. Then choose arts and entertainment. Scroll down to the Best Radio Station and then Best Local Show, which again is this side of country with Travis. And that would be awesome. And it would give us bragging rights. But we are the best radio station in the Red River Valley. Can I get an amen from the people in the back? That's right. I got 2 of you. Anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday I get in here. 4:20, open a big bag of cannabis news. This Thursday's no different. Again, we've got some pushback from the state of North Dakota. They're trying to hoodwink the people into thinking that voting for cannabis this November is going to cost North Dakotans all kinds of money in taxes. However, I mean, if you were to investigate where your taxes specifically go and the tax increases that happen, I would think cannabis is the least of your concern. Why don't you find out what they're doing with your taxes as we speak? I'm sure you would find something that you're thinking, nah, I don't know. I don't know if I want my taxes going to that. But again, some people would argue and say taxes are a necessary evil. Don't question them, just pay them and move on. So we'll talk about it. 4:20. about what the state of North Dakota is doing to get you to believe that cannabis shouldn't be legalized in the state of North Dakota come November. Now, I would argue that people who protest usually are the ones that just know that it's right, but they want to be right. I want to be right, whether they're right or not. And so it's kind of a battle between the people and the state. And that's been going on for a while, so it's time for us people, I would say, to raise up. And this is a perfect example and time to do that. All right, well, we're going to get into our first songy song. I got a double shot here. We're going to sandwich this show with brand new The Lone Bellow. And The Lone Bellow's awesome. Here's Gold, 95.9. Shoo, that was Gold by The Lone Bellow. That's brand new after Love Songs for Losers here on KRFF 95.9. Moorhead, Fargo, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming wherever you want to listen to it. We're here for you. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. 4 o'clock, I get up in the stinking studio. Actually, I lie. It might be a little earlier so I can get stuff ready for you. 4:20, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news. That's exciting. We're going to talk about New Approach North Dakota right now has been successfully acquired a spot on the ballot this November. Measure 2, in fact, is what it's going to be called. So make sure you get out this November and vote. Make sure you tell everybody to vote yes on Measure 2. We need cannabis legalized, and we're going to talk about it even more at 4:20 about how it's going to affect the medical program here in the state of North Dakota, and that's exciting too. Because again, if you have a medical card now and you would like edibles, you can't get them. If you want to grow your own medicine specifically to your disorder, can't do it. But New Approach North Dakota, Measure 2, boom, you're going to be able to do those things. So how will that affect the medical program? Will it, what's it going to do to it? I say it's going to force them to compromise and be a little more accessible so they can maintain their monies. Because at the end of the day, sadly, it's all about money. And it's all about how much you get. You know what I mean? And that's the nonstop battle for capitalist pigs, is to get all the monies. And how will they do it? They'll do it any way they want unless they're forced to reconsider. And New Approach North Dakota with Measure 2 will force the medical program in the state of North Dakota to reevaluate their position. Because right now they're just raping the people. Everything costs a lot. There's a lot of restrictions. And again, I believe cannabis was put here by our creator for all kinds of reasons. Loads of reasons. That isn't always currently looked at as a viable reason, but you allow it through recreational, and the people get a little more control and a little more say. So that's going to be exciting. You're going to be able to grow again 3 plants up to an ounce, and then there'll be a regulatory process. And the big deal now is taxes and whether or not it'll be viable. And if you've listened to this show, I mean, Illinois has already made over $3 billion. Now, just think about the taxes. I'm sure the taxes have more than made the people in, think about the taxes. I'm sure the taxes have more than made the people in, the fat cats at the top in Illinois enough money to not talk about how it isn't viable when it comes to the taxpayer. So we'll talk about that. But this programming of KRFF 95.9 LPFM has been underwritten by Rough Cut Social. They are Fargo's ultimate entertainment destination for axe throwing. Enjoy fun with family and friends, a stellar team-building excursion. Book your party. Rough Cut comes complete with a full beer, wine, and soda bar for your perfect time out. They're located at 1100 NP Avenue, Suite 102 in Fargo. Check out roughcutsocial.com for more info. So again, New Approach North Dakota, again, has successfully acquired enough signatures. In fact, they had, I believe, like 10,000 more than they needed. So Measure 2 is what it's called. You're going to be able to have 3 plants growing in your closet or in your garden or wherever you would like. You can have up to an ounce. And again, the medical program, it doesn't even come close to those kind of allowances, which they should. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it should be sold as a medical benefit. You got a little sneeze, you got a little headache, you're cramping up, ladies, boom, should be able to use a little cannabis. Should be able to just go and grab some. Just today. Hey, maybe I'm going to need some. My crazy aunt's visiting with her my stupid uncle. They always stress my brain. Boom. Maybe I'll get a little candy. You know what I'm saying? We need that freedom. And I push that freedom, even as I suppose I'm considered a severe Christian. I mean, Pentecostals are pretty specifically, hard to be, I mean, a lot of sin is sin when you're a Pentecostal. But I believe cannabis should be allowed, and I believe the people should decide. And so this November in the state of North Dakota, make sure you vote yes on Measure 2. Okay? Now, we're going to play a little bit, we're going to do a double shot here. I'm going to got Brand New Wolf with Scott Metzger, and then a little Dr. Dog on 95.9 Radio Free Fargo. Whew. Mirror, mirror, Dr. Dog. And then that was Brand New Ratso by Wolf Scott Metzger here at KRLF 95.9. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday I get in here, 4:20. I queue up this. I'll play a few seconds of it. Allow you to, if you've got a medical card, go get some ice. Stick it in that cylinder. Find you a combustible tool. Gurgle, gurgle, friends. We'll see you on the other side of this.
Hey, it's Phil from Canna-Heads. Like this episode? Hit that like button. And if you enjoy the show, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on cannabis news, local and national. Listen live on 95.9 in the Fargo, North Dakota region from 4 to 5 p.m. on Thursday. For our non-Fargo region friends, you can listen on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Now enjoy the show.
We're not going to wait very long. Okay, hello everybody. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how's it going? How we doing? Friends and neighbors. Neighbors and friends, cats and dogs. I'm Wilson. We're going to talk about cannabis legalization, specifically in the state of North Dakota, but I got a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll go right into the North Dakota stuff, and then I'll hit you with a few other things, and then we'll wrap this thing up, and then we'll talk to you next Thursday. So, first up, this is from High Times. Whoa. Hold the phone here. Hold the phone here. What did I do, huh? But anyway, hold on here. Let's get this back. Let's get this back up. High Times. Activists accuse North Dakota of misleading voters about cannabis legalization initiative. Specifically, they're misleading voters about the potential costs and revenues generated by proposals. Now, a lot, what they say may technically be right, except they omit some things. They're not completely forthright with you. They're using your typical legislative word jive to get you to do something that they want you to do. Not what you necessarily want to do, but what they want you to do. And they want you to vote no on Measure 2. Activists, such as myself, New Approach in North Dakota, it's about the truth. The truth needs to be out there. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to omit nothing. I can say to you that, yeah, maybe this tax costs versus the tax revenue in this small little margin that they're going to present, which we'll talk about. But then they omit the taxes from the said cannabis. And they'll tell you, well, it's because we don't know. That's an unknown variable. So they exclude the unknown variables, which statistically is going to way supersede this deficit that they want you to believe, so you vote no. But again, I would argue that there's stuff that your tax dollars is being used for right now that they know that if you knew where that was going, say a lake cabin or some stupid dinner that's got fancy little plates with their fancy little ties and their fancy little suits is costing us so they can hobnob and, nipple tickle each other. I said it, folks. Nipple tickle. And I think I'm going to say it again. Nipple tickle. Because, man, how fun is it to say nipple tickle? Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Here to nipple tickle your ear when it comes to cannabis legalization. Now, let's get into it then. Okay. So, activists, I guess me as well, we're accusing North Dakota of misleading voters about cannabis legalization. Now, here's what they said. They're implying that it'll cost the taxpayers millions, okay? But they're not including the tax revenue. So let's just, as an example, thanks to Mr. Anderson's stats here, Montana is doing $25 million a month in taxes, which they're not including in this line that you'll see when you vote in November. When you go to Measure 2, there's going to be a line at the bottom. It's a one-sentence fiscal summary at the bottom of a ballot measure that would legalize the recreational use and sales of cannabis. So the note estimates legalizing the drug. See, drug. It's not a drug. Maybe it is, but so is nicotine, so is coffee. I guarantee you, if I would slam a couple monsters before this show, my countenance would be a little different. Why? Because I'd be jacked up on the drug called caffeine in 600 milligrams. All right. So here's what's going on. It estimates legalizing cannabis for adults and administering a cannabis program would come at a net negative cost to the state of more than $1.8 million over the next 5 years. That's what they want you to think when you go in to vote yay or nay on Measure 2. All right? But again, it's what they're not telling you. And what they're not telling you is, for example, Montana doing $25 million a month. Illinois, they've already made $1 billion stinking dollars this year alone. So just think about the taxes and how beautiful that's going to be. I mean, I would argue that there is no other stinking program or cost, a consumer market that would make North Dakota the same amount of money. Why don't they want you to know that? Why wouldn't the state of North Dakota be like, yo, vote yes on Measure 2. We're going to get more money. Just drive through Colorado. Even their thrift stores look like big box stores because they're so fancy. Why? Because cannabis tax dollars goes back into it. You've got a crazy drug-addicted nephew on fentanyl. Guess what? There's a program probably allowed for you in the state of Colorado from taxes of cannabis. All right? So it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. And the taxes come pretty readily available. Just do your own research. Check out Illinois and see how much taxes. And they don't even have great cannabis. And they tax the flippin' snot out of it. Just go look and see how much the state of Illinois has gotten from cannabis. Actually, it's more than alcohol and tobacco. What? So why wouldn't we want that? And then show me stats then, okay, all right, so what's the cost from getting all them tax dollars? We're going to have a bunch of people sleeping on the streets, selling their hind ends and their TVs for a little more cannabis? No, not the case. Look it up. It's just not the case. The symptoms are very minimal. Now, if you smoke it, they would argue that that's not a great way to do it. It's not as healthy as other ways. But there's statistics and tests that say it actually makes your lungs stronger. Cannabis smoke. So, there we go. So, here we go. So, where are we at? Here's the sentence, and this is going to be at the bottom, and this is what's got us all fired up. Because, again, it's what they're not saying. So this sentence on the bottom of the ballot, when you go in November, is going to say this. The estimated fiscal impact of this measure number 2, beginning in 2023 through 2025-2027 biennium, is revenue of $3.1 million and expenses of $4.9 million. So you look at that, and you're like, what? Well, that's not feasible, right? And you vote no. And then the guys that are in charge of our state put their fingers together and go, right? We got them. Exactly. Because here's what they're not telling you. They're not telling you how many taxes, how much you're going to get from taxing it. So they called them on it. So, not included in the financial projection is a key piece of context. The state officials who calculated the potential gains and losses did not attempt to quantify how much tax revenue North Dakota would bring in through sale of cannabis. Okay? Tax Commissioner Brian Kroshus, of course, has got the fancy little answer. Said unknown variables, like the cost of cannabis products and the level of sales at dispensaries, prevent his office from estimating how much tax revenue legal cannabis would generate. However, it didn't keep them from strongly implying that there is no other erroneous said profit to the taxpayers or the state of North Dakota. It just says It's not feasible. And you, the taxpayer, is going to be out of pocket $1.8 million. Well, you're like, well, that's stupid. Why would I vote yes for that? Exactly. Why couldn't they say what's unknown is how much we're going to make from said cannabis? But again, how much money does the medical program give the state of North Dakota? And then when we talk about how that'll be affected, they're just protecting their own hind ends and their money, their capital, and it really just makes me angry because do your research and everybody will come with the same information. Cannabis is the least damaging substance that's currently vilified and demonized. When there's we'll say 5 old ladies on the East Coast that's currently using it to their benefit for some health reason. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's keep pushing through this. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday, 4:20. We open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's what's happening now. So Kroshus says, well, we can't add it because we don't know. But again, Montana alone in the first month did $25 million in tax revenue. So I don't know if you're good at math, but that $1.8 million that they want you to think is going to affect you, the taxpayer, to not vote in November yes on Measure 2, they just omitted the fact that it could probably, more than likely, easily surpass that in the first month. They want you to think over the 5 years it's going to cost $1.8 million to the taxpayer. However, the state of North Dakota's coffers very highly likely is going to eat that in profits in the first stinking month, not a year, not even the 5 year, as they want you to think that 1.8 is being spread out. It's tomfoolery, I tell you. They're hoodwinking you, the people. Don't fall for it. Trust me. Do your own research. See if tax income from cannabis is a viable resource and revenue stream. I would say go to Illinois and look into that. Like I said, they've already sold $1 billion worth of cannabis products. Now, Illinois is bigger, sure. But Montana is a little more... it's more likely comparison. And they had, what did I say? Stinking $25 million the first month. That's stinking $600 million per the biennium. And $1.5 billion for 5 years, okay? $1.5 billion for 5 years. They want you to just sit and focus on the $1.8 million that they say it's going to cost in the next 5 years. But they've omitted the very reason cannabis is legalized, is the income, the revenue stream from consumers. Okay. Now, so cannabis legalization has proven a financial windfall for other states. And even a conservative assessment of tax revenue from cannabis would show North Dakota in the black by millions of dollars. So why do they not want it? So, using other legal cannabis states like Montana and Nevada for comparison, North Dakota State University economics professor Raymond estimates North Dakota would see about $5 or $6 million in annual sales tax revenue if cannabis were sold legally at dispensaries. Dustin Garilo, a self-described fiscally conservative government watchdog, I don't know who put those words together, who sits on the legalization measures sponsoring committee, he puts the state's annual revenue figure at $8 to $10 million. Okay. Again, he based his calculation on Montana's cannabis sales this year and adjusted for North Dakota's lower population. Omitting projected tax revenue from the fiscal note is not logical, he said. It's not. Adding that the money brought into the state by legal cannabis sales would far exceed the cost of the program. Okay, so when asked why his agency couldn't use other states as analogs to estimate North Dakota's cannabis-related tax revenue, Kroshus said each state has their own unique tax and regulatory structure specific to them. What? Secretary Al Yeager said he did not have discretion over the content of the brief fiscal note and had to attach it to the measure. What? So, anyway, Jason Wall, he's the medical cannabis director. He said most of the $3.1 million in projected revenue from the measure would come from application and registration, fees paid by cannabis manufacturers and dispensaries. The document mentions that the additional revenue is anticipated to be collected on the sale of cannabis products, but Kroshus' office was unable to determine how much the state might collect in taxes. A portion of the nearly $5 million in estimated expenses comes from Wall's division, which said it would need to add 4 full-time employees. Of course, the cops are saying, we don't know. See, now all of a sudden now their unknowns are viable. They got no problems projecting how many people they're going to need to hire for this horrible, voting in Measure 2. They got no problems adding that to your already, growing negative opinion of Measure 2. So, I beg you, in November, tell everybody to ignore that fiscal warning. It's just the man trying to get you down, brother. And it isn't reality. It isn't reality. They're omitting the taxes from the revenue stream from cannabis because they claim they don't know, so they can't add it. And that's just craziness. All right? So again, it's a well-known fact that when certain agencies don't want something to pass, they put an absurd fiscal note on it to try to kill it, Owen said. But critics of the process, like DSO, says the agency crafting fiscal notes occasionally use them to sink a proposal. An emerging pattern, nonpartisan, unelected state officials create fiscal notes to give decision makers and members of the public an idea of the financial impact of bills and measures. So again, my friends, they're out to get us, and it's obvious that they're afraid of this. So let's get them. Let's get them, huh? So this is from CannabisBusinessTimes.com. And this is interesting, too. This is by Tony Lang. Adult use legalization projected to diminish North Dakota's medical market. Here we go. Should new approach North Dakota advocates succeed with their 2022 ballot measure this November, which is number 2, vote yes on it. Thank you. While North Dakota officials have issued more than 8,200 medical cannabis ID cards to qualifying patients since voter-approved statutory Measure 5, remember that, with a 64% majority in 2016. The number of active patients would likely dwindle to fewer than 2,000 following adult use legalization. North Dakota So, again, that's money that the state was getting already that they're not going to get because it'll go somewhere else. But again, they're getting taxes from the cannabis. Why they're omitting that and why they're acting like they don't want it when they would benefit from it just makes me wonder, what is our tax dollars literally going to in the state of North Dakota? Are we buying weird libraries? Are we paying for weird hiking trails in the state of North Dakota in December? How many people are walking then? Huh? But anyway, North Dakota Medical Cannabis Division Director Jason Wall told the panel September 12th that the state's medical cannabis registry could shrink by more than 80%. That's awesome. Because in part, they want you to think that's a bad thing, but I'll tell you, it's a good thing. It's because the medical program in the state of North Dakota sucks. It's not created for the people. It's not created for the people. That's why we need to vote yes on Measure 2 in November. So, in part, new approach North Dakota's 2022 measure would allow adults 21 and over to purchase greater amounts of cannabis or cannabis products. Tax rates would remain the same and edibles would be allowed under adult use legalization. Adult use legalization would allow edibles for medical patients. Isn't that insane? Why that? In my opinion, that should have been the only thing allowed. And so maybe some concentrates. But if you're going to talk about health, smoking, combusting, taking a lighter and inhaling, I'm not saying you shouldn't. But how can we say that edibles aren't as healthy, if not healthier way to get certainly kids if they need it, or older people? Like you got some old lady trying to burn up a blunt just to get her, blood pressure down. And that's a poor example. I'm not sure if it works for blood pressure, but you know what I mean. Edibles is definitely a viable route for consumption. Medically. Specifically medically. Okay, so under current medical cannabis law, patients are limited to purchasing 2.5 ounces of dried cannabis flower in a 30-day period. But the beautiful Measure 2 would allow those 21 and older to purchase up to 1 ounce of cannabis, 4 grams of concentrates, or up to 500 milliliters of THC in an infused product in a single visit. Now, Again, that's money. That's frequent tax money that's coming in. That isn't coming in right now under the medical program. So, under the measure, adults could potentially visit numerous dispensaries and purchase the 1 ounce possession multiple times in one day because none of that is tracked, Wall told the legislative panel, which he's saying it to convince them to not like it. And I'm telling you, that's exactly why we need to vote yes on Measure 2. Screw that Wall guy. You know? His best, he doesn't have our best interests in mind because he's convincing a legislative panel to not like it. Meanwhile, the people know edibles, which were included in a 2016 voter-approved ballot initiative, was removed from the list of approved medical cannabis products by the state legislature. Legislative panel was included in there. Would become legal under New Approaches North Dakota 2022 proposal, and that is awesome. So, North Dakota's current structure that includes a 5% sales tax plus local rates for medical cannabis would go unchanged under the adult use protocol. So, the initiative aims to establish a licensed industry for cultivation, processing, retail, and testing laboratories. North Dakota could expect $1.3 million in revenue during its following 2-year budget cycle from application and registration fees alone, which would cover the cost of state oversight. So, it's a win-win, people. Vote yes on Measure 2. And let's stick it to the man. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Just blew your skirt up with a little bit of knowledge. Now, let's talk about this. This is crazy. Alabama is jailing pregnant cannabis users to protect fetuses. Okay? What? So, where is it? I can't find it. But we'll go with let's see. It's right here. Okay, so this is from Ganjapreneur. Pregnant woman jailed for 3 months without bail for smoking cannabis. Now, I know people that smoke cigarettes through their pregnancy. Their argument is stress relief. Pregnant women will eat weird stuff, more than they're supposed to. Of course, they're eating for 2. I get it. I know people that will get really stressed out and they'll have a drink. They're not supposed to, but they'll talk about stress. Well, cannabis, I don't know. My daughter's a teacher. She's an accomplished person. Now, her mother used cannabis periodically throughout the pregnancy for all kinds of reasons that benefited the baby, I would argue, but it certainly didn't do anything wrong. And I certainly don't believe that cops should have interjected on our decision for what was best for our baby. You dig it? Now, Alabama doesn't agree, especially Etowah County Detention Center. So, on the day she learned she was pregnant, she smoked cannabis and she told them, and she shouldn't have did it, right? Because here's what happens. A pregnant woman was held in an Alabama county jail for 3 months and denied bail in order to protect, that's in quotes, the fetus after she admitted to having used cannabis while pregnant. Police and courts are relying on a state law that prohibits pregnant women who are arrested for drug offenses to post bail. So the case involves 23-year-old Ashley Banks. She was arrested for possession of cannabis and a pistol without a permit, which is crazy. But she was denied bail after she admitted to smoking cannabis the day she found out she was pregnant. Her attorney says Banks is not the only one. They say multiple women and new moms have been held for weeks or months in the same jail after being accused of exposing their fetuses to drugs. Now, if we're talking crack, smack, or fentanyl, fentperks, I dig it. But again, cannabis can be used for all kinds of medical reasons and medical benefits. One of them being symptoms that are presented during pregnancies that can be alleviated with a little bit of cannabis. Now, I'm saying don't rip the bong, but maybe some oil, even topical. So, the stress and conditions in jails, this is coming from Dr. Carolyn Suffern. She's an OBGYN expert on incarceration and pregnancy, Johns Hopkins. She says the stress and conditions in jail and prisons, including lack of consistent access to standard prenatal care, mental care, poor diets, poor sanitation, bug infestation, ventilation, tension, noise, lack of privacy, and mental health can result in poor pregnancy outcomes for both the mother. So, Banks, who has a high risk pregnancy, eventually went to the hospital and was diagnosed with a hematoma. She said that after returning to the jail, she continued to bleed for 5 weeks, suffering from fainting spells, and had to sleep on the floor. Now that's what they've decided is good. 2 times she was assessed for drug addiction, but ultimately she did not qualify for the county's free drug addiction services because it was just cannabis. Now the county wouldn't even accept her $10,000 bail without accompanying drug treatment services. So then, where are you at? Where are you at? Another woman, she was held in jail 6 days after giving birth, with police saying that she had tested positive for a drug used by pregnant women with opioid addictions. So I'm guessing maybe that's Suboxone. But anyway, Alabama has an exceptionally high incarceration rate, locking up about 938 people per 100,000 residents. And that's insane. That really is. So let's just rip through here because I'm about done. This is from Ganjapreneur as well. Cannabis to remain on world's anti-doping agency's banned substance list, even though they talked about Sha'Carri Richardson, who was ultimately blocked from appearing in the 2022 Olympic Games. Failing to remove cannabis from its prohibited substance list would mean that professional athletes who must adhere to the drug testing codes will continue to be blocked from using medical or adult use cannabis despite its widespread legalization and acceptance in many countries and U.S. states. So we gotta get it together. We got to get it together. Now, let me just say this. New Jersey employers can't punish workers based on a cannabis test alone. Regulators have approved new guidance for employers that makes clear they cannot penalize workers based solely on positive drug tests for cannabis metabolites. Why? Because you can't prove that they're on it right now. And I would argue that your body likes it, so it stores it. I mean, you could be the biggest tweaker in town. You give them 72 hours and they're clean. Does that mean tweak is better than cannabis? Of course not. Your body wants cannabis. There are so many receptors. It likes it. So vote yes on Measure 2 in North Dakota. You feel me? So let's talk about this guy. Smuggler spent 11 years in prison for trafficking launches Massachusetts cannabis brand. This guy is part of the Gentleman Smuggler. It's a new cannabis brand. He served 11 years in prison under federal drug kingpin charges. This is an interesting story. It's a group of East Coast drug smugglers who from 71 to 86 brought some 250 tons of cannabis to American shores, probably seedy. But anyway, that's an interesting article. You should probably check that out. In Hawaii, this is from High Times, people prefer black market cannabis to state-managed facilities. That's medical facilities as well. That's the medical facilities. When it comes to why people choose black market cannabis, one of the most common responses is high taxes. Well, that seems to be the counter argument in the state of North Dakota, that there won't be enough taxes and we can't use it. It's a gray area. We don't know how much, even though there's all kinds of comparisons you can make. You can at least get in the ballpark and know that there's going to be tax revenue that's going to supersede whatever the taxpayer is going to have to pay. Well, I got to be done here. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. 4:20 I get up in here. 4 o'clock I get in here. 4:20 open a big fat bag of cannabis news. And this was an exciting one. You can listen to this again or tell your friends on RadioFreeFargo.org. Go to calendar, enter the time, up to 9 days, and you can listen to this. Programming on 95.9 Radio Free Fargo is being underwritten by Drummer's Journey. Drummer's Journey offers percussion instruments, which is ironic, right? Hardware, electronics, accessories, and more. They have a full service for drummers, including repair, custom building, and lessons. Drummer's Journey is located at Highway 10 East Mall in Moorhead, Minnesota. Their hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 5, Sundays, noon to 5. For more info, check drummersjourney.com. They have a profile on Facebook. Now, let's play you a little tune. This is the last song by Lone Bellow. This is brand new. Love Songs for Losers. This is Honey on 95.9. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I enjoyed the brand new Lone Bellow's Love Song for Losers. That was Honey here on KRFF 95.9 Radio Free Fargo. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson is wrapping this shindig up. I'll be back next Thursday, 4:20. I open a big fat bag of cannabis news. Again, vote yes on Measure 2, the cannabis legalization measure in November. Tell your friends, don't believe the hype when they tell you it's not going to be feasible economically. They're on crack when they don't think it's going to make the taxpayers money. So anyway, this show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy, blackcottagealchemy.com, Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook, or come downtown here to Tochi Products. Pick up your body butter, Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I got to jet out of here, so you guys educate yourselves on the benefits of cannabis so you can educate others on said benefits. I'll be back in here on Thursday. Enjoy Automation by Fred, spelled with a P. We've got Black Ring Ritual in this evening. Take care. David Allen, Judgment Day. Peace.